Welcome to the Color of Caregiving webinar. My name is Zoe Adogli, so I'm going to briefly introduce PSS Circle of Care for those who weren't here when I first introduced it. So PSS Circle of Care is a caregiver program. We provide services for caregivers, services that include respite service, which is like home care, supplemental service, which is any assistive device that we can provide as well. We provide supportive counseling, educational training, support group platforms, advocacy, information, assistance in managing long-term care planning. So if you know anybody who cares for someone, or if you are caring for someone and you need a support system, you can reach out to us, or you can find us on the website, which is pssusa.org. Thank you again for coming today.
Just a quick reminder, some like general housekeeping stuff. So for folks here, just keep in mind these events are recorded. So this will be most likely uploaded to our YouTube channel. So just a heads up about that. If there is anybody that wishes to speak, I think we're going to get into how we're going to conduct the rest of the session with participation with you guys. But like I said, we are about 60 seconds away from the start time, and we'll first talk about PSS services, and then we will turn it over to our lovely host for the day. Okay, we are at 1 o'clock, so good afternoon, everybody, and thank you so much for being with us today. We are looking forward to this highly anticipated event called the Color of Caregiving. So just a little brief introduction to Circle of Care and PSS services. We're going to treat you to some information, a little bit about PSS. So PSS was founded in 1962. It is an innovative multi-service agency whose mission is to strengthen the capacity of older New Yorkers, their families, and communities to thrive. PSS Life University offers educational and other programs online at our 10 local centers and other locations, all designed to help older adults stay healthy, engaged, and connected. PSS Circle of Care that provides free personalized support for those caring for someone who is frail, mentally ill, or has memory loss. Families where a grandparent or family member other than a parent is raising a grandchild. That's our GFA program, a kinship program that is operated out of the Bronx. And that's, again, for the grandparents raising their grandchildren. Our coming of age program inspires 50 and over to live with passion and purpose. We do have 10 centers that help older adults stay healthy, engaged, and connected. And we, of course, welcome volunteers and who play an important role in delivering our services. So as the event is going on, we do have a chat box here that you guys are more than welcome to jot down any reflections or questions that you might have, statements, anything that comes to mind that you feel like is relevant to share, and then we will certainly review those and see where that takes us as the event goes on. So thank you for participating, and to learn more about PSS and the programs that were mentioned, you can go to psscaregivers.org. Coming of Age, you can learn more about that at that website, comingofage.org. Sorry, comingofageny.org. All the classes and events, such as the one that you're participating in today, you can find at pssusa.org/events, and there you'll be linked with the registration pages for all the events, so that you get, you can reserve your seat for that, your virtual seat. PSS centers, you can research about what all the good stuff that they do at pssusa.org/centers. And for volunteer opportunities, please visit the volunteer page and learn more about how you can participate in programming as a volunteer with PSS. And if you are a caregiver or know someone who is, you can encourage them to call our intake line at 1-866-665-1713 to do a short intake with our intake coordinator, and then from there be assigned to a care consultant who can help you develop a care plan to assist you in your caregiver role and link you with some resources and get you enrolled in a lot of the educational program and other supportive services that we provide. And if email is easier, you can certainly email careinfo@pssusa.org. And again, this is just this is our dementia friendly community logo, so that's always nice to popularize. And for any other, as mentioned before, to register for any of our upcoming events, please, we encourage you to visit pssusa.org/events. And with that, I will turn it over to our lovely host for the day, Janice Wright. And Janice, if you feel like I did a thorough job, we can certainly launch into today's program.
Thank you so much, Jenny. I appreciate it. I think that you are sharing, so if you would just allow me to share right now. So welcome again. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Good afternoon. Welcome again to the Color of Caregiving, an inside look on the experiences of caregivers of color. My name, as Jenny said, my coworker said, my name is Janice Wright. I am the Data Information Coordinator here at PSS Circle of Care. And this is a little bit outside of my scope of work, but I'm really excited to work for a company that allows you to bring your ideas to the forefront and that supports that. So I'm really excited. I had an idea to have a discussion highlighting the experiences of caregivers of color. And today we're going to be speaking with two amazing women who are going to share their experiences. And I am so excited to bring them forward. So again, I just want to say thank you to my colleague, Jennifer Sanchez, for assisting me with this project. And also thank you so much for that beautiful introduction about PSS. If you are a caregiver or if you know anyone that is a caregiver that needs support, please do not hesitate to take advantage of our services. We would be more than happy to assist you. So here's what you can expect for today's webinar. I'm going to go ahead and introduce our first speaker. I'm going to read her bio, and then she will come up and give her presentation. And then after that, I will read the bio of our second speaker, and she will come up and give her presentation. And as Jenny said as well, if you have any questions, we ask that you leave them in the chat. And at the end, Jennifer is going to facilitate the Q&A and discussion so that we can really open up this topic and have a really great discussion on it, okay? So first and foremost, I'm going to be bringing up Miss Sharon Walters. And as you can see on the screen, you can read along with me her bio. Mrs. Sharon V. Walters, affectionately known as Mother Walters, is the wife of Bishop Steve B. Walters, mother of 3 and grandmother of 4. A native of McRae, Georgia, Mother Walters is the third youngest of 11 children. Born to a full house, Mother Walters observed and gleaned from her parents a heart of service, giving and sharing to all she meets. A graduate of Flushing High School in 1978, Mother Walters has continued to receive education in the areas of premarital counseling, recovery coaching, as well as mental health coaching. Mother Walters served as the ambassador of the Queens community of East Elmhurst under the leadership of the late Senator Jose Peralta for 3 years. She is the house mother of the King's Inn Family Shelter, where she has provided empowerment, counseling, and advocacy services to single mothers and their children for the past 8 years. Alongside her husband, Mother Walters has served in ministry for over 40 years as a creative director for Steve Walters Ministries and the director of youth for the Evangelistic Church of Christ. In 2010, she was assigned as the primary caregiver of her mother until her passing in 2013. Through her passion for Christ and love for people, Mother Walters enjoys serving and caring in any capacity she is needed in. And her latest venture, Mother Walters is the CEO and founder of Gifts from God's Heart, a custom gift service in which she continues to uplift the spirits of many. So we're so excited to have you with us. Mother Walters, if you will come forward to the front, and this is your time to share. Also, something I wanted to know is that Mother Walters is my biological mom. So I'm very proud and excited to present her to you all this afternoon. It's your turn, Mother. Go ahead.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Janice and PSS. I appreciate the opportunity to come on and speak on this amazing topic today, caring for the elderly. I had the opportunity to care for my mother in 2010. She just turned 80 years old, and the Lord allowed me to take primary care for her for 3 years, 11 months, and 9 days. And I tell everybody those numbers because it's very important to me. But it was an awesome opportunity to care for her, and her desire was to not to be ever put into a nursing home facility. And she asked that request in 1997, and she wasn't ill at all, but she wanted us to make sure that she was cared for properly. She had 11 children, and she insisted that we would care for her. But the opportunity was granted to myself and my husband. 2010, we just celebrated her 80th birthday. In June. In July, she became very ill. We thought it was asthma because she barely could breathe. And after coming from a church convention, we thought she had stirred up her asthma. And so we took her to the hospital, and we found out that it was her heart. Her heart was just slowing down and was just tired. And we were able to take care of her in the home as she requested. As the time went on, we thought it was just mom's going to go in the hospital, be cared for, and come home, and she's going to get well, which she did. She got much better. They gave her some medication for her heart, and she got much better. But not knowing that she was going to go even deeper into her illness. At the time when we taken her to the hospital in 2010, we were told that she was sick unto death. I got a call from the hospital, and after I returned home, being there all night, they said, Sharon, Kathy, return back to the New York hospital. Your mother is dying. And I was like, oh my God, we just left her at 2:30 in the morning. And how could this be? She actually waved to us. She talked to us. So we got the message that she was dying. We rushed back to the hospital to find out what happened. So that was the beginning of my time to step in and care for my mother. The wonderful thing about us being able to take care of my mother, she had already put out to the children that she wanted us to care for her. So when she became ill and she wasn't able to even speak for herself at one time, it was already a sign to myself that I would step in and do the job. I wasn't ready. I wasn't prepared. I have no experience in nursing or any type of healthcare, but I remember her saying in 1997, don't you ever put me in a nursing home. And I was like, wow, now it's 2010 and we're at the stage where a decision had to be made. But thank God, she was able to still talk. She was able to explain to us what she wanted done. And I became her healthcare proxy. And that's something we'll talk about on in the conversation. I was her medical healthcare proxy. And I want to say that to a family, even if you have a few people in the family, it's very important to talk about these things before your family member or your elderly become gravely ill, where they can't talk or can't explain what their desires are. So being the youngest child of 11, it was just very strange that she asked me to make sure that she was cared for. But thanks be to God, our family rallied together to decide on taking care of mom. And at the time I was living in dual residence. I had a home in Atlanta and we rented a house for her in New York. So she'll be able to stay home. I want to say that caring for my mom was an honored position. I'm still honored to this day that I was chosen to care for her. And not knowing nursing, it was difficult for me at the time. But I want to say this, that I had to learn very quickly because her illness became worse. She wasn't able to walk at times. So she was bedridden for about 9 months. So we weren't able to take her to the doctor's office or to the hospital. So I had to figure out ways to take care of her properly in the home and give her the utmost care. So I decided to talk to the social workers. I decided to contact people that would be able to come to the home. And I was told by the nurse that they had practitioners that would come to the home. And we chose the route of a practitioner coming to the home because I lived in a home where you had to go upstairs to her bedroom. She could not walk down the stairs. So we had to make sure that someone would come in and to check her on a weekly basis. So I was able to secure a practitioner after doing some research because I didn't know that was available. Again, I was from Atlanta. I didn't really know that we had these services available to our color. So I did my research and I had 3 different practitioners were able to come to the home. Now, my mother became ill in 2010. So it was 3 years of caring for her in the home. And there were so many stages of her illness. And my mom was very strong in mind. She just celebrated her 80th birthday. So she was very upbeat. She did not want health aid to come in when it was a time for that. So we had to sit down and talk about what we're going to do for her care. The wonderful thing that I can say about me was that my husband allowed me to work at home and to make sure I care for mom. Didn't have to go out to a 9 to 5, although my other family, they were working all day. And we had it where we arranged different appointments to come in for the children, to come in and to sit with her, talk with her, and to keep her company. And I want to say to everyone that's listening, it's so important that we don't take the elderly's voice from them although sometimes you feel like they might be going dementia, or just sometimes they get a little upset because they feel like they don't have an identity. They losing their independence. So we have to make sure that they feel that they still have a life, although they're down. So I made sure that mom was involved in everything of her. Although she gave me total charge for healthcare, I made sure that I sat down. I read the medical papers to her. I sat down and asked her questions. How do you feel about this? Do you want me to do this? And we kept a constant communication about her health. So I want to say that of the years that I was able to care for her, we were able to, I guess, honor her wishes. Although it seemed like sometimes you didn't know what to do. What I did personally, I would still away and pray. And I would ask the Lord to help me, to guide me through the process. But getting in touch with caseworkers and social workers, it's very important that we keep the medical team connected. I was very engaged with the practitioners that came into the home. When it came time for her to have a health aid person to come in, I screened everyone that came into the home because I knew my mother's personality. I knew that she didn't like a lot of noise. She didn't like a lot of loud music, and she was a born again believer. So it was very important for me to keep her in that frame of mind, that she loved the Lord. She loved her gospel music. She loved certain ministries that she listened to. So it was very important for me to keep that around her, keep her surroundings as comfortable as possible, keep her mindset. We read scriptures to her. I will let her read to me. We tried our best to keep her stimulated mentally as long as possible. The other things that I learned, that it's very important that you speak to the doctors to find out exactly what is going on with her health, with their health. It's very important to try to learn the medical terminology, because sometimes you can get lost. They want to do 1 million tests on the elderly. Sometimes it's only for experiment. So you have to be very careful. What tests are they taking? Is it necessary? What is this going to do for her? So I was very engaging in my mother's health. I was always on all of her experience going back and forth to the hospital. I was always told Sharon must come forth before we make a decision. And that is very important, that if you have a elderly person that you're caring for, that the doctors and the practitioners know your name. They're familiar with you, because you're going to have, especially when you're at home caring for the elderly, you're going to have family members. I'm going to be very upfront and very honest. You're going to have family members that's going to come in and try their best to do what they want to do. But you have to be careful with that, because if your parent has assigned you and given you especially the legal rights to make decisions, you have to be very careful that you sit down. I had meetings with my family. I updated them on her care. I explained to them what was going on, so there was no friction in what was to do next. I knew that I had the sole responsibility to handle that, but I shared with my family members, my siblings, that mom have to go for this procedure, and this is why we're doing it. So it kept a lot of pressure off of me, because I want to say, as a caregiver, I work from home, and the stress of taking care of someone, you can lead into burnout. And that's something that a lot of people don't understand, but you yourself get burnt out. Although you love your family members, you can get burnt out. So I was able to understand that early on. My husband helped me with that a lot. The social workers helped me with that a lot. Sharon, take a break. Go get some rest. Because again, that was my mom. And I felt like I have to take care of mom. And 2 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, 9 o'clock in the night, I felt like I had to be there all the time. But at the same time, you can get burnout, caregiver burnout. Look it up, because you certainly can get burnt out from always being there, always trying to make sure things are okay. But I want to say that taking care of the elderly is so important, because they have given to you. I look at my mom, and she was still trying to help us, even though she was failing in her health. So caregiving is so important. I like to say that let us try to prepare. If we have an elderly parent or someone that we're close to, like our godparents, make sure you check in and see how they're doing. As a Black family member, we tend to carry a lot of pain. We tend to carry a lot inside, and we don't share. So it's important to say, hey, how you feeling today? How you doing? You feel okay? Are you sad? My mother would never tell me that she was in pain. And she said, oh, I'm not in pain at all. And I believed her because I knew if she was in pain, she would tell me, but she always kept everything in. So there was times I would just sit down and I would say, just tell me how your day went. What are you thinking? How do you feel about different doctors coming in and nurses coming in? And she would say, well, that one I didn't like too much. They wasn't taking care of me like I want to. So I would try to engage with her so she could open up to me and talk to me about what's going on inside. It's very important because it's something about elderly that they shut down. And I knew my mother's signs. She would shut down. I knew that something went on because she would look down and she would look up and talk to me. So I said, so what happened today, Mom? She would just look down. I said, somebody offended you, or what happened? And then she'll loosen up and say, oh, this lady yelled at me. So it was important that we learn to speak to them and try to help them open up. I want to say, as well as choosing health aid, my mother was adamant on not having someone to come in her home to take care of her, adamant that she was fine. Although she couldn't barely get up and walk, she did not want anyone in the home to care for her. I said, well, Mom, is this time we have to talk because I can't do it all. And I said, let's try, instead of the entire day, let's try 4 hours a day. And I assured her that I would not leave the home. I was there in my home to watch and make sure that she was cared for. So she finally let up and asked us to, okay, maybe I'll try this little girl, young girl, for 4 hours. Although she was there in the home, my mother did not want anyone to cook for her. So I still made her meals. She's an old Southern woman. She liked the way she ate. She liked her food, and she didn't eat a lot. So I prepared all her meals for her with the health aide assisting me with carrying the food upstairs and make sure that she ate the food. Sometimes she would not want to eat. So it was very important that we watch those signs when they shut down from eating, when they shut down from talking. It's so important that you have to engage with them. Why are you not eating today? That could be a sign of they're in pain and they're not going to say anything. That could be a sign of I had a bad day and they don't want any food. So I was able to engage with her. Okay, was the food not good for you? Is this what you want on your menu? Sometimes I was asked, hey, Mom, what do you want to eat today? And we want to keep them engaged in life as long as possible, because sometimes you're dealing with onset dementia. Sometimes you're dealing with just a bad day. You have to know the difference. So I was able to engage with her, make her feel comfortable. And the other thing that's very important, to secure them that they're going to be well taken care of. That was so important for me, to continually secure her. Mom, we're not going to leave you. Mom, I will make sure that I have someone here at the house that will care for you, especially as many siblings that I had in my home. We rotated around the clock. Well, I can't come in at 12, but I'll be in at 2. So I always had one of the siblings to come in, one of the grandchildren to come in to secure her. When they're getting older, they tend to be fearful in so many ways, okay? They're fearful that they're going to be left all alone and no one is going to be there for them. So we want to make sure that we secure our family members, that we're going to be here. I do understand that most people cannot take care of their elderly at home. They have to put them in a nursing home or sometimes rehab, and then they stay in a nursing home. But it's important, as much as you can, visit them, assure them that we're still here with you. Visit them, make them feel like they're still important in the earth. I would always tell my mom, I said, Mom, you still have jewels to deposit in the earth. As long as you're here, you have jewels to deposit. So I always tell her, let me hear some wisdom notes today. Okay, Mom, give me a word for today. So I kept her engaged that you are very important. Until the Lord decides to take you home, I want you to be prevalent. And I tried my best not to take every responsibility away from her. Although I prepared all her meals, I made sure that her care, once I interviewed the home health aide, I sat them down and I told them exactly the care that I wanted for her. She had to be clean every day. Her room had to smell wonderful. Although we were in a nursing home, I did not want to smell like a sick room. That was very important to my mom. She was immaculate in her dress. She was immaculate in her keeping her room clean. So I explained to the caregivers, it's very important that we keep our room clean, keep her as Mother Tomlin as possible. And that was certainly carried out. We kept our room clean. She loved getting dressed every day. Up until the last moment of her life, my mom wanted to have on the whole thing, the dress, the wig, everything. She believed in looking good no matter what, no matter how she felt. So I want to say that some of the things that I had to do because her illness was about 4 years, important. This is another important nugget, to make sure you know her medication, know their medication, what they're taking. I would always get the receipt from Walgreens. They have a tag. If you ever pick up your medicines, there's always a note there, and you can pull it off. So I will put it in her notepad when the family members came in. This is the medicine that she's taking. This is how many vitamins she's taking. That's so helpful. So when someone comes in, they can say, okay, this is what she's doing, this at what time. And that was very helpful for my family. Also, it's very important that we read and sing to the elderly. They love entertainment. My mother was a part of the senior citizens. She would go out 3 times a week to her activities, and she wasn't allowed to go out anymore because her legs wouldn't carry her. So we would sing. We would make music in the house. I would take a tambourine out of her bag and let her beat the tambourine. I would also have prayer. We would have prayer in her room. She was a prayer warrior for 40 years. So when those things she's not able to do it anymore, they feel like just giving up. But we brought church in the house. So it's important to keep them engaged in the things that they like to do. My mom liked baking cakes, and I would let her frost the cake. I would bring her downstairs when she was able to walk again to the dining room. Say, Mom, I got a job for you today. You're going to frost my cake because I don't do a good job. So we tried our best to keep her engaged as long as possible. Keep a close tab on the care. Every doctor, please introduce yourself. Every caretaker, introduce yourself, and not the whole entire family. I want to give you another nugget. When the doctors or the healthcare professional have to engage with a family member, they don't want to talk to 10 and 15 people. They don't want to talk to my uncle, my auntie. They want to talk to 1, maybe 2 people. It's very important that you keep that on record. You speak to Sharon or you speak to Kathy. That was my code. 11 family members. It's not necessary to go through the entire family when you're caring for the elderly. That kept me calm because I didn't have so many different voices to answer to. It's very important as a caregiver that you care for yourself. And I think a lot of times we leave that out because I was the primary caregiver. I was there 24/7, 7 days a week. So there have to be times where you can take a break. You can feel good about what you're doing. There was times I had to fly back to Atlanta, and I was so nervous leaving my mom behind. I would have to assign family members that I trusted, that I knew would carry it out. So it's important that you take a break because a lot of caregivers, remember this word, get burnt out. You get burnt out. You don't want to, but you give so much and you care so hard. So you get burnt out. You forget about yourself. You know, the social worker said, Sharon, take a break, go breathe, go do something that you like doing. Mom's going to be all right. So I thank God that I was able to adhere to the caregivers on my team. I actually had a team because she was homebound and she could not go out of the house for at least a year. She could not leave the home. Everyone had to come into the house, even for x-rays. They came into the home. They brought all the machines. They brought different devices so I can make sure she had the proper care. Now you have to do your research if you have someone homebound and not at the nursing home. There are services that are out there, and I just want you to make sure, feel comfortable looking. Now you can Google everything. At that time, I don't know, I wasn't familiar with Google back in 2013 and actually 2010. So I had to look up everything the long way. I would call different facilities and ask information. So you can Google almost anything today. If you need to connect with another service like PSS, you could call them and say, hey, I have a situation here. What do I need to do? It's so important to get your connections. It's so important to have a team working with you. Even when you don't understand the terminology, like I said in the beginning, I was not familiar with the medical field at all. So I had to get familiar with medical terminology. I would ask the doctor, could you please explain what is next? Could you explain this medical term here? And don't be embarrassed to ask those questions. Could you explain to what the procedure is going to be? And I would have to reiterate or explain it to my mom. Mom, they're going to have to do this procedure today. And another thing, which is important, when they have appointments or something scheduled, prep them in advance. I would always say, Mom, on Tuesday, we have to go. Someone's coming in, they're going to take your blood. Prep them, because it makes them nervous when somebody surprises them. I would say, Mom, you know what happens on Mondays? You have to get your blood taken. So, okay, so what time should I be up? I said, don't worry, we'll be on time. So the things that I've learned as a caretaker for my mom is being in tune to their wishes. Now, when they can't explain to you what's going on, you make sure that you search your heart, search your mind, search your soul, talk to the Lord and say, Lord, I want to do the right thing that will be right for her or for him. Okay. So it's so important that we take it so serious, because the thing that I've learned, one day you're going to get old. One day you're going to get old. And you don't know when your time will come that you might need help, someone to take care of your health. My mother never thought in her entire life that she would have to, and she said it so many times, I did not know I would have to be on you and Steve. She said, I had no idea. I said, Mom, is an honor, because you have cared for us for so long. You made sure that we had all the things that we need. And sometimes as a caregiver at home, you feel like, why did the burden, and I use that word, fall on me? I don't say burden, I say the blessing, because it's a blessing that you can care for someone. It's a blessing that you can make sure that someone needs is met. Because if it's a burden, it's going to be hard all the way through. If it's a burden, you're going to be grudgingly, I don't want to do it. So it's important that we change the way we think about the elderly. It's important that we change our words. I said, no, it's a blessing that I'm able to care for you. It's a blessing that my husband and I decided we're going to get your home here in New York, so we won't have to worry about going back and forth. So yes, change your thinking about the elderly, because they are beautiful. They are who took care of us when we were down and out. It's important that we give back, not to be selfish. There's many mornings before I entered my mother's room, I prayed over myself that my attitude would be in check. There was times that we didn't know at the time. She had a urinary tract infection, and it disturbed her mentally. I was not aware of that until her practitioner told me. I said, is this the beginning stage of dementia? She said, no, Sharon, let us take a test and make sure it's not a urinary tract infection. Sometimes for the elderly, especially women, that will mess up your mental. And it certainly was. We put on antibiotics for 7 days, and my mother's clarity came back. I said, wow, we had no idea. So it's important that you check in on them, make sure that they're not going to another stage in their life, like dementia, Alzheimer's, those things. Maybe it's just a urinary tract infection. It can be cleared up in 7 days with antibiotics. All right. So those are some of the things that I learned watching and taking care of my mom. The other thing that I like to say to ones that are caregivers, make sure that you love what you're doing. Now, some people say, how could you possibly love taking care of someone that's so sick? Because your energy goes to the next person's energy. I'll say it like that. You have to check yourself before you go check on the elderly. Another thing that we thought about, how when you're flying on an airplane and they tell you to put on your oxygen mask first, then assist the other person? That is so true, taking care of the elderly. Make sure that you have yourself in good health. Make sure that you are secured in your health, okay? Make sure that you have your mental in check so you can care for the elderly. Because if you have 100 things going on, it's going to all go to that person. Your attitude, your mindset. I'm not saying every day is going to be perfect, because none of us have a perfect day. But it's important that you have, I like to say, you have your oxygen mask on first before you try to take care of someone else, because you would get totally out of whack. This work is hard. Although it is a blessing, it is hard work, because you don't know what you're going to get the next day. Some days it's exciting. Some days, oh my God, when my mother got back on her feet and she was walking around, I said, Mom, you're doing so well. And we were so excited. She said, I'm ready to go back to church, not knowing that she was not ever going to get back to that person prior to 2010. She did get back up. She did go to church. She did, some of the things that she wanted to do, but she was never strong enough to get back prior to 2010. And we saw her walk again. We saw her back at the church, but at the same time, mentally, she was slowing up. At the same time, the heart was getting weaker and weaker. So we had to make sure that we were there all the time for her. For me, it was all the time. Even if I was out of town, I was on the phone, calling in, checking in. Even if I was at the store, I'll call back, Mom, you okay? So it's important that we pull out some of those things caring for the elderly. Make sure that you are okay. If you find yourself getting sick, you need to take a break. You need to let somebody else take over. And it's okay to let someone else take over, although you are the proxy. It's okay for a few days, bring somebody else in to help you out. It's okay, because you know what? God is watching all of us. So make sure that although you are assigned to your person, make sure you take care of yourself. And I'm so grateful to have a husband that said to me, you know what? I'm going to let you come home and you're not going to do anything. You're just going to take a break, sit out in the backyard, catch some sunshine. And that was such a wonderful, wonderful idea. Such a great thing for me, because when I had to go back, I was all refreshed. I was renewed in my mind and in my spirit, because it is a job. Don't let nobody tell you it's not. It is a job. It is a 24/7 job, whether you're actually doing things or whether you're just there for assistance. It is a job, because you have to make sure the medicine is taken on time. You have to make sure they're clean. You have to make sure that you're watchful that there's something else had not triggered into that person's health. Because when they're getting old, I say older, there's a lot of things that triggers in. You're looking at, onset dementia. You're looking at, she was upstairs in the bedroom. Her bedroom's upstairs. And we were looking at, oh my God, my mom have to go downstairs during the night. So I asked the nurse, I said, I want to put a staircase. She said, oh no, Miss Walters, do not put a fence up, because they would try to climb over, because you're not going to confine them. I said, well, if I'm sleeping in my room and my mom want to come out, she said, no, just make sure that you have a good listening ear. She said, because if you put that little fence up, she's going to determine to take it down, because their mind says, you're not going to keep me, and not like you want to put them in a cage. You're just trying to secure that she don't fall down the stairs. But we devised another plan. We put chimes on the door, just in case she came out her room door during the night. We were able to hear the chimes that will go off. But my mother was so smart, she learned how to hold the chimes and walk out of the room anyway. But thank God she did not fall or anything like that. So it's very important that you secure your house. If you're taking care of someone in the home, make sure that there's things that's not around that could stumble over and fall. Make sure that, in their rooms, that the room is where they can be comfortable and not having something that will hurt them. Even the hospital beds, oh my God. Those hospital beds are dangerous if you let someone work it that don't know how to work the beds. Be careful with the hospital beds. So those are some of the things that I had to learn taking care of my mom. And I want to say that as time progressed, we did not wait to talk about when the Lord take her home. And this is an important topic as well. Make sure that your family members know that you are assigned to carry out her wishes. It shouldn't be just you, in my case, and my mom. Let your family members know, because you don't want to have an argument. You don't want to have all this stuff going on. We talked about her progression, meaning if she passes away. We talked about what would happen if she passed away in the house. How would we handle that? We talked about what funeral home and all those things, because a lot of us family members don't like to talk about death, or, the Bible talks about we're all appointed to die. Okay, so it's something that we should talk about. It's appointed to man wants to die. We need to talk about it a little bit more often before that person is so sick they can't speak for themselves. That person's so sick they can't even tell you their desires or their wishes. Bring it up front first. It doesn't have to be a conversation to make them fearful. I've always made the setting where we have to talk about this maturely, not, oh, mom's getting ready to die. No. Let's talk about what if. Okay, so we made plans, and we designated people to carry out those plans. That was very important to me, that our whole family was engaged in what would happen, or what's going to happen to mom in case this happens. Okay, what happens if she can't make a decision like a breathing tube or put on a ventilator? Those things was discussed. My mother and I discussed that with her early on. I said, Mom, I don't know how this is going to go, but we need to talk about what if you can't make a decision for yourself. She said, that's why I gave you the rights. That's why I made you the proxy over me. So when those times come, it really surprises you. The doctor come in and say, Sharon, we might have to do a feeding tube. Wow, where did that come from? So you have to calm down, readjust yourself and say, hey, you know what? This is what she wanted me to do. Now, there's some things that your loved ones might have assigned for you to do, but when the time comes, it might not be the right thing. So you have to be able to decipher what is right and what is wrong. Although their wishes are there, and I try my best to carry out all of her wishes. So when it came to the point where this is what mom asked for, but this is what is going on now, I would seek God. And every time I was at a crossroad, it was like 3 major crossroads, I would say, okay, God, this has never come up in our conversation. What do I need to do for mom? And every time I got an answer, and it was the right answer. So important that there are times, if you're caring for elderly, that they may have a wish, but at that time, it might not be the right thing to do. You know, the doctor will say, hey, what do you want to do? And sometimes they're rushing you. Sometimes they're like, you got to do it now. You have to put them on break for a second. Let me wait a second. Let me think this out. And I talk to a lot of people that caring for the elderly, and they say, I was pushed into this by my doctor. I was shoved into this. I didn't want to make this. You have to put them on break. All the doctors knew me. Okay. They would call the hospital. They called me on the hospital line. We need to speak to Sharon Walters. And I was like, okay, your mom is declining. What are we going to do? So it's so important that you be the sounding voice, and do not be afraid to be the sounding voice. I found a lot of people say, well, I didn't want to say anything to the doctor. The doctor asked me for so many orders to do for my mom. I said, is it necessary? He had an attitude. He said, well, would you do whatever you want to do? I said, I want to ask you, is it necessary, sir? Because if it's not necessary, why are we putting her through so much pain? Is it necessary? She's had 3 already. Is it necessary? He said, well, do what I said, I have decided we are not going to do that procedure. And it was the right procedure, because she said, I don't want any more of that. It wasn't happening anyway. So he got an attitude, but I got myself strong. I said, we're not going to do this. So it's very important that you stay engaged and stay on top of the medical condition of your loved ones. Very important. And you have that right. I want to say this again. You have that right to ask questions. People of color, sometimes we don't want to ask questions because we're afraid. We don't know what to ask. Do your research. Ask someone else that's gone through. Be assertive. Be a little bit more assertive. Find out what these medical terms mean. Say, hey, I need to know what this means before I say yes. I need to know exactly what's going to take place before I say yes. And I was very, I didn't argue with the doctors because I knew they were there to help. So I made a conscious decision not to argue with them. I said, doctor, you are the doctor, so tell me what's going on so I can make the right decision. So I want to say that don't cause argument. Don't cause a lot of confrontation. Don't be a yes person, but at the same time, do not cause confrontation, because remember, they're taking care of your elderly. Okay, so make sure you have a conversation with the healthcare professionals. Sometimes it's too many of them because they like to come in on you as a team. I want to tell you this as well. When they're in the hospital, if you notice they come in as a team, the team is just there. They're in training. And I said to Doc, is it necessary for all these doctors to be in the room at this time? And so, oh, they're in training. Is it okay? Let me know. Thank you for letting me know that they're in training, because sometimes that makes the person fearful when they're in the bed and 8, 9 doctors come walking in the room. So you have to be so careful that you be on top of the medical care of your loved one. Make sure you're up front with the doctors. Okay, make sure you're up front with the doctors. I'm sorry I get excited about this topic because it's my mom. So if I'm sounding a little excited, I'm gonna pipe it down a little bit. Make sure that you're in contact with your healthcare professionals, all of them. Make sure that you are upfront. Make sure you're the point person. I said to my doctor in my mother's final hours, I said, I have several family members, and we always there are about 30 people. So they will want to talk to the whole entire family. I said, no, sir, you need to talk to just two of us because it's too much to go through. Okay. So I just want to say, I hope this little prep talk is helpful. I hope it's something that you can think about, especially if you're going into caring for the elderly. It is a wonderful opportunity to be a blessing. You always have to remember yourself that you are going to get old one day and what is going to happen to you. Okay. So important that we learn to do the right care for the elderly. Do your research. Go into Google and search on how to care for the elderly. There are so many resources for us today that I was not aware of, but now I am. So many resources that's out there to help us, and we don't have to be alone. It is a awesome job to take care of the elderly. It is sometimes so stressful, you really don't know what to do, but it's important that you do it with love. You do it with love, and it'll make it less stressful when you do it with love. I love this person. I want them to get better. I want them to feel that they have dignity in their final hours. Two things that it's dignity and independence. Dignity and independence. You know, you want to give that to them because they don't want to feel like I'm a burden on you. They don't want to feel like I gave them so much trouble. It's so much on them. You just say, no, this is what I'm supposed to do. This is how we're going to do this. And I just want to say that for me, I'm so glad the Lord chose me to do it, first of all. And I pray God that I did an awesome job helping my mother as she transitioned on, even through the final hours. She passed away at home. She was in the hospital for 12 days, and they told me every day she's leaving. But she came home. She said, it's time to go home. And 4 days later, she passed away. But even in the final hours, we were able to secure her that we're not going to leave you by yourself. We're not going to, let you feel like no one loves you. And that's important too. Make sure that the elderly know that we love you. Make sure that whether it's your mom or your dad or just an elderly person that you have to take care of, that you are loved. They want to feel that. They want to feel the love. You know, sometimes when they're going through the mental process and you feel like, who is this person? But make sure you let them know you are loved. You're cared for. We'll be here for you. We'll walk you through the process. I told my mom, I said, I'm going to be there for the long haul. I will be there to the end. So I'm so glad this opportunity to speak to you. I hope I wasn't too long, but I pray that you enjoyed my little segment on it. Thank you again, Janice. Thank you again, PSS. God bless you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mother Walters. We really appreciate you sharing the day-to-day activities of caring for your loved one. And certainly that's a perfect way to transition to our next speaker, who will be sharing about the end-of-life care and assisting the families thereafter. So, but before we read her bio and before we get into that, I did just want to do a little bit of housekeeping. If you are a caregiver or if you know someone who is a caregiver or about to take on those responsibilities, we just encourage you to reach out to PSS so that we can be that support system that Mother Walters spoke about. We can be a part of your team of support. And there are a number of services that we offer that can help you in that area. So if you need that type of support, you can definitely go to our website, www.pssusa.org. Okay, so here we are. We're going to go ahead and transition into our next speaker. I'm going to go ahead and share her bio so that I can read it for you. She will be speaking on the end-of-life care as well as helping and assisting the families thereafter. So I just want to welcome Miss Mary Benjamin, who is also a longtime friend of our family as well. And she has been such a gift to the church and her local community in this area of caregiving. So I'm just going to go ahead and read her bio. Mary Dale Benjamin is a native of Orangeburg, South Carolina, the mother of one daughter and the grandmother of two beautiful grandchildren. The youngest of 8 siblings, her father taught them to always care for those in need and to care for the sick and elderly. Graduating from Morris High School in the Bronx in 1975, Mary earned an associate's degree from Monroe College in management accounting. Mary worked as the budget director for the Board of Education before retiring after 36 years of service. Mary is an active and long-standing member of 46 years of the Way of the Cross Church in Harlem, where biblical teachings drew her closer to God. Mary has held many positions within the Way of the Cross Church, such as missionary, Sunday school teacher, and overseer of the Monday night prayer. Mary's passion to provide care for others was exemplified when she received the precious gift of the Holy Spirit and fully surrendered her life to God. Through the years, Mary has been blessed with the opportunity to travel across state lines, up and down the Eastern Seaboard, as well as in her own state to care for others. Yes. Mary's desire is to one day open a home to provide love, care, and support for neglected and or forgotten seniors. So we want to welcome to come right on up to the forefront and share, I'm just gonna remove this pen, and share your testimony of caring for the elderly at the end of life and assisting their families thereafter. Welcome, Miss Mary Benjamin.
Thank you. Ms. Wright, and to the PSS organization, we'd like to thank you for having us on this platform. Some of my time with just caring for people is, as Sister Sharon also mentioned, it's not my profession. My profession is finance, but my passion is caring for those that are less fortunate. And in that, having that passion, I found myself going out across country lines, taking care of those that were less fortunate. And some of the things, Sharon pretty much covered a lot of the things that I wanted to say. So I'm going to kind of cut it down. And some of the things I want you to watch out for caring for people is to again, know that person you're caring for, understand what their needs are. Make sure that you're very clear on what it is that person can and cannot have to eat. Make sure that you're clear on when you're caring for someone, it's important that you know that you learn signals, that you also learn that even if that person, as she mentioned, when the person isn't talking, when the person, there's a look on their face, that you understand that there is something going on. And again, it's important that you have those conversations to understand what exactly. In many of my time of caring for people is not necessarily my family members. Sometimes it's members in my church. It's people that I just meet in the community that need to be cared for. When I think of caring for someone, one of the young ladies that I think about caring for is that I spent a lot of time with her. She was suffering with cancer, and how it required a lot of attention, a lot of time, a lot of patience. It's important that if you're going to care for someone, that you have that patience. Ask God to give you the patience that you need to be able to do it. This isn't everyone's work. Everybody can't care for someone. We can try sometime when we're not clear, when we're not, if it's not your passion, we don't do the job that we should do. So it's important that you love doing this in particular job. One of the young ladies that I cared for who was suffering with cancer, I just noticed there was something different about her and said, let's go to the hospital. And when we went to the hospital, we found out that she had cancer. This person was really dear to me, and we worked until she was demised, caring for her, making sure that she had the proper medical attention, to make sure that we kept her in an environment that she was used to being in, whether it's dressing, whether it's singing. Sharon mentioned something about singing. For many of them, it's important if they are in a religious, if they're from a religious background, understand what they believe. Encourage them through the scriptures, encourage them. It's important that you find out that you encourage, because those things are so crucial when you're caring for people that are going through, especially if you're dealing with terminal illness. And in this case, it was a terminal illness. And in the process of caring for her, one of the things that she asked me, she says, I know that my family is going to give you a hard time. It's important that you get things in writing. One of the things that I do with everyone, I get it in writing. In many cases, they were not my siblings, but these were people that I knew. I ended up becoming their healthcare proxy. So one of the things that I always do, I make sure I get everything in writing. I make sure I get their family members to sit in on the conversations with me. So therefore, no one comes back and say anything, that something different. than what's being said. I make sure I get that person's signature in writing. Even before the medical providers, those that I took care of that were in nursing homes, I made sure and had documents documented in front of them so that we are clear. This is what the person wants, this is what their wishes are, and I'm going to follow the procedures and get an understanding with that family member that this is what, because like I mentioned, in many cases, family members cannot take care of that person. It's not that they they don't love them, but some people just can't take care of someone when they're sick. And one of the people that I was taking care of, the family members couldn't do it. And so therefore, because I was very close, I would go take care of them every day. I would work a 12-hour day shift. I would leave my job in the afternoon, go to their home and just stay at their home every night and care for them. Because that's my level of passion when it comes to caring for people, making sure that they're taken care of. And one of the things else that I want to just mention, we talked about transition after the person is gone. One of the people that I was caring for, unfortunately, they didn't have the funds to do different things. So I started making a plan. And as Sharon mentioned, those are hard conversations to have. People don't want to talk about death. They don't want to talk about these things, but these things are crucial. When people, we know they're terminally ill, we know that God is a healer, but we know that transition at some point do come. So one of the things that I would do with them, and I would sit and I would say, okay, this is what we have. I'm going to start, and with the family members, I'm going to start looking for places, finding the best places that we can go to make sure that we can have a proper services for this individual. And I know it's going to cost us money. We need to have the funds set aside to do it. And what I started doing was making sure I spoke with the care facility plan. I said, we're going to put things in place. Dollars, this is what it's going to cost us. We're going to put this aside. But because COVID came along, it ended up costing us more money. But because I agreed to make sure that this person was covered, I was willing to make sure to pay for the rest of whatever needed to be done, because I wanted to make sure that things are covered. And again, it's important. It is so important that you understand what you're getting into before you make an agreement. I was speaking to someone yesterday, and one of the things she's like, I'm thinking about doing this, I want to help. Make sure you understand what you're getting into. One of the people I care for had mental illness. Understand what you're getting into, understand the state of mind that person is in. All those things are very vital when you're caring for someone, making sure the state of mind is clear, making sure proper medication is cared for, making sure they're getting the right food, speaking with the doctors, making sure that you have a one-on-one with those doctors. So therefore, when you speak, and make sure you understand the language. Understand the lingo, because if you don't understand it, I find that many times doctors tell people anything. I will go in a nursing home because, again, it's kind of who I am. When people aren't being cared for properly, I will go in. They thought I was an advocate because this is what I do. I just want to make sure that everyone is cared for properly, that our loved ones are getting the proper care. And as Sharon mentioned, if you have to put your loved one in a facility, it's important. And I can't stress this enough. There's nothing wrong with it, but it's important if you have to do it that you go there, that you visit, spend time there, learn the nurses. Don't go there at the same time every day. Go at different times. So therefore, you can make sure that people are being cared for. If that person become withdrawn and someone else is taking care of them, but they become withdrawn, even if they're being cared for at home, if that person is caring for them, if you notice that person is withdrawn, something is going on. And it's important that you start asking questions. Like as Sharon mentioned, how was your day? What's going on today? You don't seem like yourself today. Learn the signals. Learn the signals that a person is giving you because many of our seniors are fearful. Many of our seniors are in facilities. They are fearful to tell you what's going on. Many of our seniors have people coming in our houses and they are fearful to tell you what's happening when you're not there. So it's crucial that you make sure that you have the conversation, pay close attention, learn every move about that person. so that you know when something is not right. I hope something that I've said was helpful. I don't want to go over everything that Sister Sharon said because it's some of the same conversations. So I'm going to stop right here. Thank you guys for having me.
Thank you both so much. I really, really appreciate you both. Obviously, this is a conversation that could go on for some time. Our community faces many, many, many different trials and struggles. And before we get into the Q&A section, let me just pause really quick. If you have a question, we ask that you drop it in the chat, and we'll go ahead and read off the question. We'll have our speakers, give their perspective and, answer them. But before we get into that, I just wanted to make mention, and you both touched on this, that within our community, there is a lot of fear. Sometimes there is pride, and a lot of times there is shame that is going on. And so there are a lot of conversations that are just missed out on. We're not always having the important conversations of, who is going to be the appointed person to take care of someone, who is going to make the funeral arrangements, who's going to make those plans, what is going to happen to, this person's life and belongings and things like that afterwards. And I just find that this conversation is so necessary. Hopefully we can do this again. And certainly caregivers of color are necessary, because what I heard within both of you is that you all play a big role of advocacy. You do a lot of advocating for these people. A lot of our seniors are older, they're Southern, they're people of faith. So there's a lot of pride in there, and sometimes shame that, wow, I've gotten old, I can't take care of myself. So caregivers of color are so important that you stand in that position with knowledge, with having your research together, and with the courage to be the advocate. As somebody who was able to have firsthand watch my mom care for my grandmother and do the day-to-day, there was a lot of advocating that my mother had to do. She went through a number of home health aides once grandma allowed them to come in. There's that pride piece, right? A lot of our seniors, they're just very prideful, and it's not always a bad thing, but there's a piece of fear in that pride that is saying, what is going to happen to me? Are they going to throw me away? Am I going to be forgotten? Can I still be productive in this life? And so I just want to commend you both and all of the caregivers that may be listening into this webinar on this afternoon. Thank you for the work that you do. And we just want to continue to give you a space to talk about your experiences, and hopefully something that was said on today, something that was shared, will help you in your caregiver journey. And again, if you need support, you can always reach out to PSS. You can go to our website, pssusa.org. If you are a caregiver and you need that type of support, we provide a number of free services. So if you find yourself in this journey of caring for someone, we want you to know that you are not alone, that your experiences are valid, that your voice is heard, and that we are here to support and help you. So if there are any questions, I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Jennifer. If you can read off if there are any questions, and we can just have our speakers go ahead and answer or respond however they like.
Hi guys, that was really, really wonderful. So I don't see any reflections or any contributions in the chat, which is totally fine. Just kind of gives us a little bit of time. We do have a 90-minute session for this. I just want to say, Mother Walters, that was absolutely amazing. And you touched upon so many things that I, as a care consultant with PSS, have had conversations with our caregivers and our clients about. Mary Benjamin, you and I are going to talk further. I think that maybe we're going to invite you as a panelist speaker for some end of life care, but we'll get around to that. But you guys, that was absolutely amazing. My hat's off to my brilliant colleague, Janice, who sits on the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusivity Committee with me at PSS, and we have lively discussions about how to incorporate everyone's experience and represent the diversity of our city and the unity of our city, right? So I represent the Staten Island division of Circle of Care. So we have our tentacles all over the place, and we definitely love to connect. And I'm really happy, and I feel honored to have been part of this. And Miss Mother Walters, I love what you said about viewing caregiving not as a burden, but as a blessing and an opportunity, because that's just like changing the whole perspective of it all. And that's a lot of the work that we do, is helping people understand that, you were given this role, and it means that someone up there thinks you're pretty important and that you're pretty capable. Yes. So turning it, making it an empowering thing. I love it. You guys are all amazing. And like Janice said, we hope that this, this will maybe expand into something bigger, maybe a routine thing, but we'll talk about all that. So now you guys, Janice, I'm not sure if we were going to extend beyond the 2 o'clock time, because it was scheduled 1 to 2, even though we do have, the Zoom room for a little bit longer. So I will leave that up to you. And if anybody has any further follow-up questions, I'm going to, again, put our website in the chat, and the email that anybody can make a referral for a caregiver who might be in need to, as Janice said, to follow up with Circle of Care to see how we can help you.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jenny. And again, I just want to say thank you to our speakers. If you would like to give us any closing remarks or whatever have you, the floor is open to you. If no one has any questions, we just want to give you an opportunity. Any closing remarks, anything that you want to share?
I just want to say this, Janice. I thank God for Mary. She said something very profound. Has to be a passion.
Yes.
It has to be a passion. I know we know somebody that's elderly, that's sick or whatever, but you can't go into this just because you're thrown into it. It has to be a passion. Even with my mom, like I said, starting the conversation, I was so hyped and so loud and excited because I was so passionate about taking care of her. So, some people, you cannot go into this line of work because you're not passionate about it. And again, if you have to, you're your only child or you're the only one that's left, make sure you look at it as a blessing, and then it won't be such a burden. Basically, that's it.
Thank you. Sister Mary, if you wanted to share any closing remarks.
I just wanted to say one other thing also, is that if in a family, if you're the person and you can't do it, there's nothing wrong with asking for help.
Amen.
There is nothing wrong with, sometimes tasks are left on us and we can't do them. There's nothing wrong with asking for help. There are people out there that's willing to help. And I, for one, is one of them that don't mind helping, don't mind getting dirty, doing whatever needs to be done to make sure someone is cared for, because it's important. It is important when we allow our seniors, whatever time God give them, that they leave here with dignity. So it's important that we make sure and don't make them feel that this is a burden. As Sharon says, a blessing. Don't make them feel that it's a burden, that you're doing it, but you really don't want to do it. It's important that you try and let them know that you love them, that you care for them, and you're here because you love doing what you do. Thank you again for having me.
Thank you both so much. We really, really appreciate you. I think we've started something amazing here, Jenny. So I'm really excited about where this conversation can go next. And again, I'm grateful for both of you contributing to the first of many conversations. So again, as everyone has said, if you are in the position of being a caregiver, do not feel alone. You can be supported by PSS. There are many, many resources out there, and we want to be a support for you. So Jenny has put in the chat all of our information. You can email, you can call, you can go to our website. And also, if you're interested in learning more about caregiving and all of that stuff, we have a number of events that we host, not just this one, but we have a number of events. And you can go to pssusa.org/events, and you can participate in any of the events that we have. And thank you, Jenny. She put the link right in the chat. So again, I thank you all so much for your time. This has been an amazing, amazing webinar. And I look forward to continuing the conversation in the future. So thank you again so much. And I hope that you have an amazing day. And I hope to see you all again soon for some more events.